And now, live from downtown Amarillo, Texas, this is the Amarillo Pioneer Podcast. Here's your host and the editor of the Amarillo Pioneer, Thomas Warren.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to the Amarillo Pioneer Podcast again this evening, and we're excited to be speaking with another candidate running in the May 6th election. The candidate joining us tonight is John Ingerson, and he is running for Amarillo City Council, place number 4, a fairly crowded race to replace Howard Smith, who is not seeking re-election. And we are going to be speaking with John all about why he is running, and hopefully we're going to get to the bottom of who John Ingerson really is. But before we get started, John, thanks so much for being with us. We really appreciate it. And how are you doing this evening?
I am doing great. It's my pleasure, Thomas. I appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead and just get right into it. Tell us a little about yourself and why you decided to run for city council this year.
Okay. Well, been here 37 years. Been married to my wife for the last 35. We raised our kids here, a son and a daughter, and just absolutely love Amarillo. I think it's probably the greatest place in the United States to raise a family. And I just, I've run before, you know that, Thomas. And this time I really was excited. I just think it's just different. We have such an opportunity to make some changes that I think a lot of us have been hoping for and looking for in our community, the way we do government, the way we treat our residents. And that's really why I am really excited this time. I will tell you that, and I think you know that I am a man of faith, and I am trying to honor God and just follow his lead. I felt like I have been called to do this. I actually believe that God's been preparing me for the last 12 years for this opportunity. I got to serve on the Parks and Recreation Board for the last 6 years, and that was absolutely awesome. Got to serve my city that way. I was very blessed to get to be the chairman of that board for the last 2 years. And we had some big challenges like our city does, but just absolutely loved the opportunity to serve, and hope that I get that opportunity on the city council.
Excellent. Well, tell us a little bit about some of the priorities that you want to tackle in your first term if you get elected.
Okay. Great question. I think first and foremost to me, and I kind of alluded to it a little bit, is I just want to see us do business differently. I have this crazy philosophy in representative government and we the people and that kind of stuff. I think job one, Thomas, is to restore the faith that the citizens have in our local government. I have this belief that City Hall belongs to all of us. And I just think that's where it's really gotten off track. I think we've done a lot of things fairly well economically. I think we could do things a little bit better for our small businesses and some of our regulations and stuff. But overall, I think it's just a shift. And I've been telling people as I've been speaking to others, I get this really uncomfortable feeling that we are being ruled instead of served. And to me, that position is a service position. As Texans, I think any Americans really, if they would be honest, just really, we don't want to be ruled. We're smart enough to know we don't need other people to make decisions for us. We're smart enough to make some decisions on our own. We don't need to be told what to think. We just need to be served. And that is certainly a goal of mine. But I think practically speaking, public safety, we've got some issues there. Our crime rates are kind of concerning me. It's not an Amarillo issue, it's a national issue, but I would really want to work real close with APD and see what their needs are and try to help address some of that. I am very concerned about our streets, some of our infrastructure. Like I said, I've been here 37 years, and I really can't remember a time when our streets have been in this bad a shape. I'd love to get in there and try to figure out what we can do to improve our streets. I would say another thing, Thomas, that really concerns me is I see our city really divided right now. And I would like to believe that I could maybe help build some bridges between some of that division. I just think we're a lot stronger together than we are divided. And I think just with the personality that I have, I can hopefully bring some people together to hopefully move our city forward. I've heard several other candidates say, and I think they say it very well, is just, getting back to basics, being who we are as Amarillo, and stop trying to be somebody else. One of my campaign issues that I'm trying to communicate is I think we made some mistakes along the way, and one of the big ones was we got the mindset that we just had to be bigger, and I think that's really where most of our problems come from. And I've just been telling people I'm really not interested in bigger. I'm interested in better. I just, if we do things better, if we take care of business, bigger will happen on its own. It's just time to get back to doing what we do and doing it well, taking care of our first responders, our streets, the business community. All of that can be done. And I think, we're growing. We certainly have growing pains, but if we'll start doing things a little bit better, pay attention to the details, prioritize some of our budget issues, and I really think that the big key will be is rebuilding that trust. Once we start doing that, I think that we'll see some pretty immediate improvements just in people's attitudes overall. I think people just want to be part of the solution I think they want to feel like they matter. And, I don't blame them. They're taxpayers are the ones that pay the bills. They ought to feel like they matter. And so that's some of the stuff I'd like to try to make happen.
Absolutely. Well, I know that you served on the Amarillo Parks Board. You were actually chairman of the board at one point. Can you tell us a little about that experience and how that has helped you better prepare for a possible tenure on the city council?
I would love to, because I think it's really important, is because, this council, whatever it looks like, is really going to be a bunch of rookies. Not saying that people aren't prepared to serve, but we, just in actual government sitting in those chairs, other than our mayor's slot, I believe all four of the other positions will be new people to the council. And I think that experience is going to be really important this time around. One of the things that I got to do we had some very, very challenging issues on parks. It certainly wasn't easy. So we got in there. I got to spend a lot of time looking at our budget, working with the council on what the budget might look like for the parks department. I got to see help oversee with the staff some really awesome capital projects. While I was on the board, we did the water park, we did the Warford Center. We kind of kicked off the lighting project and some of the other bigger projects that really we haven't done in parks in a long time. And then, Thomas, I think the last thing I would say to the voters is I was very blessed to get to be part of the new master plan. We put together a plan that was very unlike anything that had been done in the past. We tried to just get real and get honest and tell people, how bad things are. You probably remember the red X's and the tape and the signs all over town in our parks, and that was kind of people. But we were trying to. We needed people to understand how underfunded parks were. And I just had this belief that if we were honest with people and let them know, they would step up and demand that we do things a little bit differently. And that is certainly what happened. So I'm really excited about the opportunity that we now have in parks to, as I told Michael, the director of parks, I said, boy, you better step up this spring, because now you have some funding. And we better look really good. And I'm excited about it, because I think we will. Once the weather breaks, we're going to start pouring some new sidewalks. We've got, like I said, the lighting projects are taking place. We've got some new swing sets ordered some of this stuff is really, really old, and we just haven't had any money to do anything for, Well, for the 6 years I was on the board, we didn't have any money. And, our zoo is showing its age. Our pools, our other two pools, we've kind of just been kind of keeping those going. So I'm really excited. I feel like we did a lot of really good work. Got to see what happens when you get a good group of people that are committed to trying to make a difference. Our board was very active, and I'm pretty proud of some of the things that we accomplished, and learned a lot. Learned a lot about leading and listening, and I think that will serve me well on the city council. I got to understand a lot more about city government, so it was good stuff.
No, absolutely. And I will say, having served on city boards as well now, the library board and the traffic, I guess it used to be traffic commission, now traffic board. It really changes your perspective about the way the city operates and gives you a really new insight.
It does. It really does. It's a lot different on the inside than it is on the outside, isn't it?
It is.
You see the challenges because so many different departments are trying to accomplish a lot of things, and there are so many dollars to go around, and we need to be good stewards with those dollars. When we stop and think about what it takes for someone to send their property tax money to the city, it should mean something to us, and you don't want to waste it. You want to spend it wisely. And, you kind of get the weight of that on your shoulders, or at least I did. I bet you did too. It's, when you realize, the decisions you're making I really get kind of disgusted with government sometimes because they don't seem to appreciate to get those dollars to spend, and they just kind of just willy-nilly spend stuff. And for me, it was more just a weight that I carried because I felt like such a responsibility to be a good steward of those dollars. And I think you probably understand what I'm saying.
Sure. Absolutely. I do. Well, let me ask you about this issue because we can't talk about city council elections this year without talking about it. And it is the Civic Center. So the Amarillo Civic Center is one of the biggest campaign issues of this year. And that, has to do partially with the lawsuit that was filed.
Sure.
And we found out some things that made that project not look so great, at least that attempt to do that project. But you still talk to people and you still hear from people who say, we got to do something about the Civic Center. We just don't really know what. So if you get elected, what are you going to do about the Civic Center? Is it going to be a priority? And if it is, how are you going to get it done this time?
Ooh, Thomas, how much time do we have on that one?
You got 3 minutes.
Yeah, okay. I'm going to tell you that's going to be a challenge. Here's what I think has to happen, Thomas, is and I've been telling everybody, we've got to figure out what we have. Our budget is now close to $500 million. And that's just a very staggering amount of money. So it's going to have to take some time to figure out where we are as a city and what kind of resources we have. I think, to be honest with you, the Civic Center is going to have to take a little bit of a back seat to some other things. Like I said, some of the issues we still have is the pay that we pay some of our city employees. That's really where the garbage issue came from. Is we pay people so poorly, even our full-time employees at the bottom of the food chain, that we just couldn't put enough people in trucks. And it's that way. It's that way in the parks. It's that way in a lot of other parts of our city with the departments. And so I think we've got some bigger issues to at least try to address. I think during that time, though, that we certainly should be starting to have some conversations about, are there other opportunities? What would that look like? I don't know. I just know that throwing it on the back of the taxpayers when it's that big of a number, that's not the right way. So whether we start with an auditorium or whether we start with remodeling some of what we have, that to me is where we have to communicate really well with our citizens, and I think they should be the ones that get to make that decision. Um, Again, as far as representative government and believing with that as with every fiber of my being, I think the people should make that decision. But yeah, we need to be ready to have some of those tough conversations because it's certainly not getting any younger, um, and we are growing, and so somebody's going to have to discuss it. But I think we've got a few other things that are just a little bit more pressing, at least for the short term. So.
Absolutely. Well, one final policy question I'll ask before we get into the fun stuff.
Okay.
I've been asking everybody this question this year because I think it's so important, but we just don't really hear about it a lot in these city elections. And that's the issue of water.
Okay.
Amarillo is right smack dab in the middle of the Texas Panhandle where we have these nasty droughts. It seems like every year. But we also have the farming communities. We have the ranching communities in this area. And we also need water here in our city. I believe the number was by 2040, the population of Texas is expected to double. And while a lot of that growth is going to, definitely come south of I-35, Amarillo is growing too. And we're well over 200,000 people. The city just keeps growing, keeps getting bigger. And so if you were elected, how are you going to make sure that Amarillo has the access to the water it needs to thrive as the population of our city continues to grow?
Man, Thomas, that's a good question, and I'll tell you, I because you did, your father did, and I did. I've been attending council meetings for many years, and just try to learn and try to listen. And one of the things we need to be very grateful for is some of the people that came before us that kind of secured some water rights that a lot of other cities don't have. We have several well fields that we have kind of bargained for and traded for, and so I'm grateful that. Remember, it wasn't ago that we were not able to even draw water from Lake Meredith because the level got so low, and we were basically running 100% well water. And you and I both know that that's not a long-term solution. So, I hope that the other issue we have is, the Cremois, the pipeline from the lake. We're not the only ones on that line. So, as we work with other communities to try to figure this out. But I think, there's some other well fields that are north of us that we need to still maybe keep seeing if we can do some negotiating with those individuals on. Short term, I would certainly say I was certainly grateful for the rain we got day before, and pray and hope that the good Lord will send us a lot more rain. But I think personally, one of the things that we need to be a little bit quicker with is when it does get so bad, we need to talk about how do we ration a little bit. I mean, I love to have a green yard, don't get me wrong, and I work hard on my yard, but I'd rather have water to drink and to run some other issues that I have at my house. And so I think, if the next time we get one of those really bad droughts like we had 4 or 5 years ago, we need to be a little bit quicker maybe and respond and start asking people to conserve and realize that it's a commodity that we shouldn't take for granted. And, like I said, I am grateful though, because a lot of really good people before us have made us sit in a position today where at least it's not something we're dealing with right immediately, and we're very blessed along those lines. So just being good stewards, we got to be good stewards of our finances, but we got to be good stewards of our resources too, and that's a very valuable resource.
Sure. And I know, you're a golfer. That's why you like those green lawns. So
That's right. Yes, sir. But hey, like I said, it's, we do put a lot of water on our golf courses and on our parks. And, it's nice to have those green but thankfully, in between some of the droughts, we do get some nice rains from time to time, and we need a little bit of help from Mother Nature to do that. But I think, you just gotta, it's just like our city budget. You gotta prioritize sometimes and just, be willing to make the hard decisions. And, thankfully we have a pretty good water treatment system where we, it's all not waste. And, we do a pretty good job with trying to be good stewards, I think. And so, we try to collect some rainwater and pump it to our playa lakes a little bit. And, we have some fishing going on. We stock ponds through the Parks Department, and so we try to provide some of those services to the city. And can we do better? Sure, but I think overall I'm fairly pleased with what I've seen. It appears to me that the people that have gone before us took it very serious as well. So that's a good thing.
Absolutely. And, no matter how bad the drought gets here, our golf course will probably always be a little greener than the one in Vegas. So that's nice.
Well, we do have a nice irrigation system. And so, yeah.
Well, so this year we've kind of changed things up. We've done these interviews for the past 3 or 4 years. And every time we do these, we'll sit here for 45 minutes and we'll talk about policies. I went back and looked at the one we did with Cole Stanley. We sat here for 50 minutes, I think, and just hammered him with policy questions. And that's great, but it doesn't really give people a chance to know who you are outside of being a candidate. And so this year we have a few fun get-to-know-you questions that will hopefully give people a better idea of who John Ingerson is when he's not running for office. So if you are ready, we'll just jump right into these.
Sure. Now, you're not going to ask for like bank balances, account numbers, that kind of stuff, right? We're not going to get that personal.
That episode's next week, so it's fine.
Okay. All right. No, go ahead. I'm ready. You bet.
Okay. What is your favorite thing about Amarillo?
Oh gosh, 100% hands down the people. I've lived in other cities. I grew up in the Northeast. I got here as quick as I could. I absolutely, I'm going to tell you, Thomas, and I tell people this every chance I get, we are so blessed to get to live in Amarillo, Texas. And we need to thank the good Lord that we are residents of this city. When you look at what's going on in the rest of the country, oh my, do we have some challenges? Yes. But man, these are the finest people, I think, in the United States of America, and I actually love living in the same city with them.
That is wonderful. Well, aside from that, what's your favorite restaurant in Amarillo, and what's your go-to order when you go there?
Oh man, I tell you what, one. I used to love Leal's Mexican food restaurant. Victor Rial was such a good friend, and I can't drive to Muleshoe to eat at their restaurant over there. So I have had to actually change my menu a little bit, but I love to go to Dyer's Barbecue. Dyer's has been here a long time. I just love their brisket. And so that's my go-to place, and my go-to meal is their brisket.
That is great. I love Leal's too. I hate that it's not around anymore.
Oh, me too. I miss them. I really do.
We've tried to fill that void with Chewy's. It's just not the same.
It's Palace is or Plaza. I'm sorry, Plaza is pretty darn good and pretty close. But Victor was just a really good friend too, and I love doing business with my friends and supporting local business owners, and that was just there was just a lot more to Leal's than the food. So
absolutely.
It was
And he would have made a great state senator.
Oh, I agree. Great guy. I miss him. I really do.
Yeah. What is something interesting about you that people listening might not know?
Oh, man. I'm not a bad ping pong player. I grew up in, like I said, in the Northeast in a place where it snows about 200 inches a year. And so when you do that, you get to be pretty good at doing stuff inside. And we had a ping pong table in the basement of the home I grew up in. And so I actually won a ping pong tournament at the University of Oklahoma. I won a ping pong tournament at the Trinity Fellowship Church here. I'm not world class, but I'm not too shabby.
Not far off is what you're saying.
Well, I have played a few people that made me look like I didn't even know what I'm doing, but I try to put those memories back to the side.
Well, so on that question, a few weeks ago, we talked to Don Tips, and his answer was that he is not a Cowboys fan. And
well, you're gonna get some people in trouble here.
Well, that's kind of what we're trying to do. I have to ask you, John Ingerson, are you a Cowboys fan? And if not, who's your team?
I got to be real honest with you, and I'm going to lay it out straight. I have a really hard time with professional football anymore. When they started kneeling, I stopped watching, and that's just who I am. And I love college football, and I used to love Tom Landry and Roger Staubach, and I used to be a Cowboys fan, but pro football left me a while back, and I found out I haven't missed it as much as I thought I would. But college is just, I get into college football. We have some pretty interesting games at our house. Like I said, I went to OU. My wife is a Texan through and through, so there's a Red River rivalry that happens once a year that we actually watch in separate rooms or don't get really too close to each other during that one game. But it breaks my heart. I hope that the NFL will reevaluate the product that they're putting out, and because I think I'd love to get back into it, because there's a few individuals that really, really get me excited. Some of those quarterbacks, Jalen Hurt and the young man that's in Jacksonville, Trevor. Some of the Mahomes is just such a classy guy, and I think such a good pretty close ties to Lubbock and some of the things he's done. I'm pretty impressed with some of the individuals, but
sure,
that's kind of where I am on pro football, anyways.
I'll say I understand that OU Texas thing because I married into a family of Sooners.
Well, you lucky dog. That's awesome.
They were really upset whenever I was applying to law school, and they said, "You're not going OU?" I said, "No, I'm not going to be a Sooner." So.
Well, I get it. I try. I am very passionate about watching OU football, but and I hate my big thing with football and the Sooners and the Longhorns now is with them going to the SEC. That's just, I am just devastated with that. I mean, the OU OSU rivalry and Tech, and I am not a big fan of that at all because of those long time rivalries. I mean, there'll be some good games and stuff, but I'm not going to be excited about OU Mississippi State as I was OU OSU or OU Tech or OU Baylor. Our daughter went to Baylor, and some of those rivalries are just awesome. And I don't know, I guess that's me just showing my age and how much I hate change, but I don't think that's a change for the good. But time moves on.
Sure, I understand. Well, for those listening who are undecided on this race, this big field of candidates for place 4, would you mind just taking a minute and giving us a quick elevator pitch and tell everyone why you're the person who needs to be elected to that place 4 seat this year?
I would love to. And I tell you, Thomas, I think for me, it's just really pretty simple. And I would ask everybody, number one, to please get out and vote. I'm really encouraged this time. I do have a neighbor that I was out talking with the other day when I was walking the neighborhood, and he said, "John, I got to be honest with you." He said, "I haven't voted in local elections in years." And he said, I'm going to vote this time, no, because I never felt like it mattered before. But with guys like you and guys like Cole and Don and Tom and some of the other folks, he said, I just really believe that there's a purpose and a reason to vote this time. So I hope there's a lot of people like my neighbor that'll get out and vote this time and be part of the solution, be part of the future and the direction that our city's going. But I kind of have really just kind of boiled it down to one simple thing, and that's, if you like the way that we currently do business in the city, I'm not your guy. I mean, if you want the status quo and to keep doing what we're doing, I really think you should probably vote for someone else for place 4. But if you'd like to see some change, if you'd like to see everybody gets a seat at the table at City Hall, I would love for people to consider voting for John Ingerson for place 4. And that's about as simple as I can make it.
No, that is perfect. Well, for those who want to get a yard sign or donate or knock on doors, just do something to get John Ingerson elected to the city council, how can they go about doing that?
Well, I'll tell you what, and through a lot of toil and a lot of yelling and screaming, I am on Facebook, trying to navigate Facebook. But I have a Facebook page. It's John for a Better Amarillo. And also my personal page, just John Ingerson, I'm also trying to use as campaign information. But you can go on there and send me a message or send me a deal, and I will certainly do my very best. I am kind of a one man or a couple people show, and so I'm trying to get it all done. But I would love for people to check on that website. I've done some interviews with High Plains Pundit. We did the Alex Fairley television interviews were very well done, and those are posted on there. And I'm just, I'm trying to let people know a little bit more about me and who I am, and just that's a good way to contact me, or at least send me a Facebook invite or whatever we can do to connect, and I will do my very best. I do have some signs that will be here in about 4 days. Would love to hand those out. And if nothing else, I just love to have a conversation. If anybody has any other questions or wants to get to know me a little bit better, I will certainly make myself available. As you know, the Amarillo Pioneer Group is having a forum.
We are
in 2 weeks.
Yeah,
out at the botanical gardens, right? For just the is that one just for the place 1, 2, 3, and 4 candidates?
It'll be all city council. We'll also have the school board giving some speeches. But mainly it's for y'all.
Okay. Well, I know that's a good place to come. I don't know if you guys have set the format yet, but we'll be available either before and after for people to talk to. I'm sure we'll get an opportunity. So if they get a chance to do that, and many other forums, we will try to educate the voters the best we can, and hope that people like a little bit of what they hear, and we'll go from there.
That is wonderful. Well, John Ingerson, we really appreciate you being with us tonight. We wish you all the best on the campaign trail, sir.
Thomas, appreciate the opportunity. Tell your dad I said hi.
I certainly will.
All right. Sounds good.